And by accident, I hit the mute button instead. We're not going to go with him, keep using him for more information, make him chase us. I was so brokenhearted. You have to be liked by your prospects. They have to respect you. When they respect you, they trust you. So I've got to replicate not scale, but replicate a different word, different concept. And here's what I figured out. My model is once you have enough, you have enough.
Today's guest is Ari Galper, an EO Sydney member and globally recognized authority on trust-based selling. He is the author of 7 best-selling books, a sought-after international speaker, and a sales growth advisor whose insights have been featured in Forbes, Fast Company, and CEO magazine. For more than 2 decades, Ari has helped entrepreneurs and sales teams shorten sales cycles, stop chasing leads, and build stronger client relationships through trust. Please welcome Ari Galper.
This episode is sponsored by Linh Podetti, entrepreneur, speaker, EO member, and author of 360 Degrees Success. Many founders build successful businesses, but along the way, they lose their relationships, health, or sense of self. With Linh, you can create 360-degree success through business freedom, meaningful relationships, and intentional living. So success doesn't just look good on paper or social media, but actually feels aligned in everyday life. You don't have to choose between business growth and personal fulfillment. Grab the 360-Degree Success book on Amazon, available on audio, Kindle, and paperback.
Welcome to the show, Ari. So great to see you again.
Thank you for having me. Super excited to be here.
Yeah, I love that when I met you at a workshop that EO Sydney ran, I was blown away by your teaching. And then I invited you back to speak. And I feel like I've seen you multiple times. And I really do love that EO brings amazing people like yourself in. And I get to pick your brain. And I get to pick your brain again here today to share your journey with the audience. So let's start with your journey. Like, how did you become this trust selling guy?
Sure. So just probably caught the accent. Originally from the U.S. I met my wife on a dating site 22 years ago and came to Australia. So I've been here ever since, so I have the accent. So I specialize in trust-based selling. And an experience happened to me. I'll kind of summarize it briefly. About a couple decades ago, I was managing a large sales team for a high-tech company. And I got an inbound lead of a big opportunity. And we did a demo call with the key decision makers on the line. And so we had them all log in, walk them through all of our demo, what we could do for them. They loved it. They were so excited. They gave me all the right signals they were going to buy, and it was like a love fest on the phone. And the call comes to a close, and my contact says to me, Ari, we love this. This is great. Follow up with us and give us a call a couple weeks. I was like, oh, amazing. Thank you so much. So I said my goodbyes. I was reaching for the phone, the speakerphone, turn the button off the speakerphone, and by accident, I hit the mute button instead, and a click happened. And they started talking amongst themselves, thinking I had left the call. And so the truth came out. What I heard was, we're not going to go with him, keep using him for more information, make him chase us, all the things that you don't want to hear after a great call like that. I was so brokenhearted. And I just hit the off button. And I said to myself, oh my gosh, what just happened? I did my best pitch and presentation. I was not aggressive. I showed them our stuff. But they weren't comfortable telling me the truth. That's kind of where I started my whole career on launching this trust-based approach that doesn't get caught up in the net of chasing leads who don't tell you the truth and all those games around that. That's the story behind that.
Yeah, I must say it is a powerful model because when I only had maybe a 60-minute session with you, I implemented a few things in the business and it really ignited my love for my business again. That's just how powerful it is. Now let's go even a bit further. What was growing up like in the US? And did you always knew you were going to be an entrepreneur? What were some of your early experiences?
Yeah, not really. I had no plans to start my own business. I was basically a senior sales executive for a couple of companies, and I just thought my role would always be mentoring other sales reps underneath me and staying in that role. And this kind of happened by accident, the entrepreneur by accident story. When this pivot occurred to me, I was like, it's like a lightning bolt. I said to myself, I need to do something about this, make it my mission to change the entire definition of what selling is to help companies grow. So I took a risk. I quit my job and went on my own. I literally went to a shopping mall and got them to agree to let me use their spare training room. And I put ads in the newspaper to come to a workshop. and that's how the whole thing began. And of course, there's an evolution behind in terms of my positioning and all that over the last 2 decades. But that's kind of literally how my entrepreneur spark began from that experience.
Mm. Well, then what's the traditional, typical way in sales that you were doing for many years? And then what had to happen for you to turn it all around after you had that call?
Sure, that's a great question.
I want to close the door because I opened
Sure.
the door. There's a lot of light in there,
Sure.
just in case it affects the lighting.
No
But that's
problem.
okay. Okay. It didn't really make a difference, but usually my door's closed. Yeah. Sorry. Do you still remember the question?
I do. So there's pre and there's post, right? So like everyone else, I was always making a lot of assumptions. I assumed what the prospect was telling me was true. Like they come to us and say, hey, we're looking at this. Here's our challenge. And I'd be like, oh, yeah, we do that. And I moved right into describing what we do. Because I assumed what they told me was the total of their problem, the truth. And it turns out it wasn't and never is. No matter what someone comes to you with and says you're looking for X, there's always a Y that's hidden behind the X. And unless you diagnose and go behind their actual problem they have, you'll always be playing this sort of a smoke and mirrors game with them, trying to become their friend, give them value, be excited, assuming it's like a doctor and a patient. Imagine going to a doctor and saying, my shoulder hurts and I want that medicine on the shelf over there. Doctor's like, excuse me? That's not how it works around here. We have to go through a process first. Same concept. I was being the pharmacist and not the doctor, which most people do in sales.
So then what were some of the steps in starting your own business in that kind of knowledge-based service? Like I feel like I'm in that stage at the moment where I accumulate a lot of years of experience and realizing there's a lot of burnt out entrepreneurs. And then now I really want to help them to live a better life. So it's kind of like turning my knowledge into a business. And so love to understand your journey through that.
Great question, because you're right. I had to turn my passion and my knowledge into an actual business that generates income and gets clients. And at first it was really hard because I just thought I had a great message, I could speak, and that might be enough, but didn't go very far. And I realized what I had to do is I had to, because I was kind of like one more voice in the ocean, right? Like everyone does sales stuff and other stuff about leadership. So how am I going to be different? So I said to myself, I have got to position myself as what I would call now a trusted authority, a category of one, somebody who's seen as a thought leader, as the owner of their space. Because I can't just sort of be one of many. I have to be a category of one. So I said to myself, how can I do that? Well, the first thing that I could do, because the first word in authority is author. So I need to become an author of a book on the topic of the problem that I solve. Not about me, not my story, but about the problems that I solve. Because then once I own the problems in a physical device like that, then people hold it and go, oh, he is the expert on this. Look, he's written a book. And the irony of the whole thing is having the book itself only implies authority. It only proves you've written a book. Doesn't mean you're good. But that connection is there between the book and you. And that's why it's important to be the authority, the author of what you do. But the difference is I figured out, because at first I did a whole book that went on Amazon for sale, but I realized I'm not in the book selling business. I'm in the client getting business. So I shouldn't be doing books for Amazon. I should be doing them for lead generation. So I built my own little books that are problem centric only, that just describes the issues, not the solution, but unpacks the problem in such a deep way psychologically. They look at your book and go, oh my God, she gets me. She understands me. That's what real trust is. When someone says, you understand my world. They don't really care about how you solve it. What they care about is, are you the one to solve it? So once I figured that out, all my marketing shifted away from solution-centric marketing to problem-centric marketing, where all my content pre-sale to generate clients was only about the issues, not the solution, which is totally counterintuitive to marketing. So we think it's about the brand, the logo, our message, our USP, but you know what? They kind of really care about you. They care about themselves.
Right. And then what made you decide to write so many books? Was there a strategy in like launching a book a year, or is that your main method now, just launching more books, or yeah, what is it?
Yeah, so I realized back then that, okay, I've got one. This felt really good. But then I realized, I'm like, wow, everyone else has one. So I've got to step up to be the number one in my position. So I realized, I had a flash, and I realized the one with the most books wins. So when you have 7 or 8 books versus they got one, nobody in their right mind would think about doing more books because they already have one. But I realized, wait a second, I solve multiple problems, not just one. There's lead generation, there's conversion, there's chasing people, so many issues. Why don't I just do one book on one unique problem? And so I ended up now with 8 books. We did two more coming out soon, around the depth of the problems, because that proves to people. Let me tell you why this works so well. People order our books all the time, and they show up for a meeting with either myself or my coaches. I have a bunch of coaches, and the first thing they say is this: I got your books, and here's the key word, they resonate with me. Resonate's a vibration. They feel you understand them. That's what you have to create inbound demand, is to create a path for them to feel that you get them in an authoritative way. That's kind of what I figured out. So that's why we're always producing books on different subsets of issues to different markets and niches to penetrate those channels in a way others would never do.
Yeah. I mean, your book would obviously still share with them a solution, right? Like it wouldn't just be highlighting that you know their problem.
Yeah, no, of course. Well, in that, it wouldn't be like your IP, like here's how you do it. It'd be more like your philosophy, your approach, right? Your concept, not here's how I do it. I have a program and I do this on Monday and then we do this as a team. They don't really care about the mechanics of what you do. What we're trying to figure out is, does she think like me? So your book should contain your philosophy, your approach, describing your ideal client, but not the details of how to solve the problem. And you might say to yourself, wait, people get books for answers. Well, they're really looking for more than that psychologically, looking to see if they connect with you and you understand them. That's the truth others don't understand about this concept.
So I heard that you mentioned you've got some coaches as well. So what were some of the first steps in scaling beyond yourself? And because you're the one with all that knowledge and experience, what was, is that the main challenge for you in running this type of business?
Yeah. So glad you asked me that question. Sort of my long-term vision is to create a legacy business that lives beyond me. Okay. And to do that, obviously, if something happens to me, it's not a good thing. So I've got to replicate not scale, but replicate a different word, different concept. Okay. Because I can't scale myself. I'm just a human. Okay. But I can replicate myself. And here's what I figured out. I got to find other people to do what I do. And they don't have to be 100% as good as me. They could be 50% as good as me. And that makes them 100% better than the client. And I was like, oh, right. They don't have to be me. They got to be half as good as me because the client's still impressed and it's working. So I've got a couple coaches now, and now I'm working on franchising my business, licensing it to other business owners, entrepreneurs, senior sales leaders who want to become what I call a fractional trust-based sales growth advisor, because I built all the systems now to generate inbound demand for consultants. Like, for instance, one of the packaging elements they're going to get with us is they get their own book. I've written a book for them to put their photo on it, and as an author on that, with a note in there, that makes them the author of their own book and their own funnel, their own process, replicating exactly what I'm doing now. And then from that, they will go out and present my presentation in their market. So it's like taking what I built and just making like, almost like a franchise situation where they license it and they go out and do it.
Right. And to find these people, what were you looking for? Were they experienced business coaches already, but just learning from your methodology, or were they more junior? Or how were you approaching this?
So we know our two target markets. The one is founders, entrepreneurs who have sold their business and don't know what to do next. They love mentoring. They love coaching. They don't want to start a company. They want to become a consultant. So they're at one target for those folks who love trust-based selling and want to start their own business around that. The other market that we know of through our testing is senior sales executives who are between opportunities. AIs that cut them out of a job. Now what do they do? They're cashed up. They're senior level. They know the sales process, but they need something fresh and a new business opportunity. So we know that's our target market. So what do? We advertise like on sites that have job sites. We target through LinkedIn, and they come to us and request our information. We're doing a discovery day in Los Angeles probably next few months to have people fly in to walk through the whole opportunity. So we just kind of know our target market and the process behind that.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Considering you're American and you lived here for a long time as well, are there any differences that you've noticed between American clients and business owners versus Australian? So if we're serving clients in those areas, what to look out for?
Well, I would definitely say Aussies are a bit more conservative, right? A little more skeptical, a little more need more time to decide. That's probably the culture. Maybe I don't know what it is. Obviously, there's some quick decision makers, but in general, big picture, I have found the American side to be a lot quicker to make decisions. So we designed a system called the one call sale, and we tested it in Australia and America. And on the US side, entrepreneurs, business owners, they can decide on one meeting with us immediately to onboard. It takes a bit longer here, I think, in some cases, because there's more people involved and there's more skepticism as well. So there is a little culture shift difference there, but I think if you address the issue pretty clearly for both sides, it's pretty compelling that something they cannot ignore. They have to do something about it.
And if you were to think deeper, what would you say makes an American decide very fast? What's their attitude? What are they telling themselves that makes them go, you know what, I'll just give it a go?
I think they're trained to decide to be more decisive, less indecisive, less procrastination, because they'd rather take the first step. And then once they get there, look around and figure out, okay, this is working so let's move forward. So it's all about moving forward. So when you're thinking about things, processing things, you process the decision out of the process. But if you actually act physically, a behavior change, and go do something right away, you get faster the end result.
Right. Thank you for sharing. And considering you have so much insights and working with lots of small business owners as well, like what do you think keeps business owners stuck in the problem with sales, or that they're not growing?
Yes.
What are the common issues?
So there's a sales culture. There's a culture inside every business that lives inside there that comes from its history. Okay. So if you're a founder, you started the business, you sold the way you used to sell, the way you learned it. And then you bring someone else in and they bring how they learned to sell. And then you grow this business of everyone kind of doing their own thing based on their personality. Now you have 80-20 going on, where 20% are great, 80% are like average. Like, what is going on here? Right? So there's this embedded sales culture of every business right now based on the traditional model that they just kind of built over time and they're trying to now improve it, but they're improving a system that already is kind of cemented. You can't get much growth out of that. So what we do briefly is we kind of replace their sales culture with a trust culture. All their behaviors, the language that they use to kind of clean up the system so it can scale up. So that's kind of how we view it. Sales culture versus trust growth culture. And then we can address those issues that way.
Thank you. Yeah, it definitely is true. As I was trying to grow my sales team beyond me, I felt like I had no idea what the hell I was doing. But I think the more you learn it and get into it, you start to embrace it and love it more, and you actually see it. It comes with the right strategy, the right framework. And I think, working with someone like you just makes it so much easier.
Well, yeah, most founders, they got to a certain point in their career through their own process, their own personality. It was intuitive. They just did it. Now they're like, I want to scale. How do I replicate what I just did? It's impossible on your own to take your own DNA and have someone else do it. It's just, you're too close to yourself. That's where we have a process to extract that and lay it out so you can now replicate yourself in the way that works. So that's kind of the way we look at it.
Now, talking about yourself, now that you've been an entrepreneur for many years now, what have you learned about yourself when you're, I guess, like looking back at your journey, how you were, what did you have to unlearn or learn to become where you are now as a leader?
Well, I think more 80-20 principle. Like I zoom in onto what I know are the actions I should be taking, especially with my time, right? I'm very careful about who goes on my calendar, who doesn't go on my calendar. I like a doctor's office. I'm the doctor. I have an assistant in the front desk who manages all the inbound opportunities to make sure that they're the right fit in advance. So I think a lot of your time and how it's being managed is important, but also making sure that you're spending your time making decisions that have the biggest impact. It's easy to get caught up in like tools, AI, software, CRMs, and here you are inside the machine all day long. You go home, you're like, did I produce anything today? So you have to have some framework or filter to know this goes off my plate. This stays on my plate. I'll tell you a funny story real quick. I had my team the other day. I asked them to get me something, and one person said, here's the login to get what you need. And I was like, wait. Ari doesn't log in. You log in, you get what I need. They're like, oh, okay. Because like, that's not worth my time to go log in and search for something. It's the same concept. It's like, really? Got to separate your time so that your people can free you up to be strategic and creative.
And so how do you spend your time now as a founder and a CEO? Now you've got team members. How do you make sure you have what's your typical day look like?
Well, my calendar usually is already pre-blocked with appointments. So we don't chase any leads at all. They all come inbound. They go right to a calendar appointment. We ship out our books to people and they show up. We have a whole process around how we do that. So I have pre-blocked time that's set just for new opportunities. That's getting less and less over time. I'm almost working part-time now for clients. I'm working the other part-time on scaling up the franchise business as we go into the US to grow that. There's more. So I try and also do a little speaking, obviously. I was on tour this year, like 30 engagements. I got a lot more to go. And so I got to free up my time to make sure I have room to do what I call one-to-many activities. One-to-many is speaking to groups of people that you think would be a good fit for you. Great way to scale up as well. Most entrepreneurs, they just do one-to-one, or business owners, one client. But how do you go one-to-many? And so we architect the process for that as well. That gives me leverage. And then I'm hoping to have my advisors do the same presentation in their market to scale their own business up. So it's really like a cascading approach,
Yeah. Great. And considering when you were speaking, that's how I saw you and I met you and I got to know your knowledge. So let's talk about EO. Like I met you at an EO conference and you're also a member there. How did you discover it? And what's your journey like so far?
For sure. So I joined about a year and a half ago, I think it was. And I didn't know it even existed here. My clients in the US said, why are you not in EO? I'm like, what is EO? And they were telling me about it. And so I looked online and I realized it was here in Sydney. So I reached out and then we had a chat and I just joined. So they told me I should join, that was a good fit for me, for my business where I was trying to take it in terms of scaling it up. So I'm now in my own forum, which is great group of people. And I love the environment and especially like sort of the transparency and the intimacy we have amongst the group, to sharing things we're working on together at all different levels of our lives, which makes it unique, because most kind of business groups, networking groups are more what I call above the iceberg conversations, right? I think EO is special because it's kind of below the iceberg as well. And among everything else, with the travel and the events are amazing too. But I just like the fact that the spirit here is about growth, new ideas, driving forward together, and it feels like a good place to be.
Yeah. Are there any under the iceberg things that you've learned about your life? Because I know with EO, right, what I really like about it and appreciate is that it's beyond just business too, because your life and what you learn from your life can impact and influence your business as well. So are there anything that pop it in your head around your own life?
Well, it's funny. We had a retreat day, and the retreat day, for those who don't know, is a day where we kind of do some fun stuff last year. And one of the things that we did was we all went to a tarot card reader together,
Mm-hmm.
that reads cards and tells you your future. We just thought that'd be kind of fun, something different. So we all piled into this person's office, all of us together, and she was pretty intimate stuff. She opened up about our lives and our kids, and everyone around the room was there in the room hearing these things. And some things came up for me that I didn't even think about, like about my kids and my son, things I should be telling him and sharing with him. And I just kind of been blocking it for a long time. And it kind of just came out. And she was like, yeah, it's probably time for you to tell your son what you wanted to tell him, because life's getting older. And I was like, you're right. And I was like, oh. So I went back and I did what I needed to do with my son and told him things I needed to tell him. And it was like, wow, what a relief. He was so relieved. I was so relieved. That wouldn't have come out in any other environment. So these things just kind of filter out to kind of free myself up to be a better father, leader, and that kind of thing.
Well, talking about being a father, a leader, when you first started your business, you might have a definition of success, and maybe it's changed. I don't know. Can you share what your definition of success is, or what does success look like in business for you?
Yeah. So I'm not sure I'm driven for massive income and wealth. Has never been my driver. I've always been driven for financial stability and security. So my model is, once you have enough, you have enough. I don't need more things per se, but I felt like I had to build a business to get to that point, which I am now. And also what's driven me is, I may mention to you before, the story about my son, Toby, who has Down syndrome. When he was born, we didn't know much about what that meant to our lives. We realized we had a gift on our hands. And I wrote a book about him, as you know, called Lessons from Toby. And he's taught me about life, about being present with people, being transparent, being open, and not playing games. Like, that's what salespeople, the sales environment is like. So I think a lot of his way of being has passed to me. And I try and pass it along to my friends and clients and people as well, to try and just find their true potential by not having to be someone they're not.
And interestingly, you said it clearly, that you just knew that you just want enough, feeling like you have enough, and that's it.
Sure.
Like, where did that come from? Because often entrepreneurs want more, and they think the bigger the business, the better. Was there any defining moment that made you think that way?
So for me, I have this kind of personality, kind of business model. So for me, it isn't about wealth building forever. It's about replication and legacy. That's a different driver, right? So I don't need to have more zeros in my bank account. That's all taken care of. I just have to be able to make sure when I leave this earth one day, this runs without me. Right? Like any business owner who thinks about what if I get sick or something happens to me, then what? It's the same concept, but it's designed to kind of replicate sideways, not go up and get more sales in and more clients, because I can't process more clients. It's impossible. So I have to think a different direction, right? And so I'm trying to leave and make an impact with as many people as possible, with others in the field that can basically, quote, be a mini Ari when I'm over here and they're over there. And that in itself is an art form and a system that I finally have got down to a codified model that works and keeps growing.
Beautiful. Yeah, I really do love that. your philosophy around legacy leaving. When you're saying legacy, are you saying that your framework continues to live on? Obviously, or are you thinking your kids might take over the business one day?
No, the kids don't want anything to do with the business. No one in my family does. But I have a team. They're going to have kids. They're going to have family who can fill them as well. So there's passing down from there as well. And I think once I have enough sort of advisors out there, and we're, quote, the home office, we don't need more people. It's a small team that can keep running. We're using leveraging technology to feed and help them grow. So I think we're set up correctly to allow this to keep growing over time without worrying about more and more staff.
Very good. Yeah. Got me thinking about what do I want in terms of the business legacy, because I often do think about my legacy as a person. Well, this leads me to that question. What do you want your kids or the people around you to remember Ari for?
I think probably just the fact that I didn't have to be somebody I'm not, and just to be able to tell people the truth of what I believe they need to hear. Sometimes people don't want yes people, they want no people. They want people who tell them things they need to hear. And that's kind of what I'm known for, is to get the truth with people. And I think if I can leave that legacy and have them be more like that, they'll have better relationships with people and better lives by not being afraid to express what they believe is true.
That very unique answer. Why do you think people don't say the truth? Like, like it's a very rare answer from you. I would love to hear a little bit more context.
Well, I think they're trying to create a social structure and connection first to be liked. Because as children, we're taught that others need to like us first before we can be in the crowd. So many of us work very hard to be liked, to be validated, to start the process with someone, as opposed to, you don't have to add that layer in front of you. You can just be direct with people and yourself. I care about how you're being received, but you don't have to sort of become someone's friend first, necessarily for them to respect you. And there's like and respect are two different concepts, right? So that's what we teach in our process as well, about being, you have to be liked by your prospects. They have to respect you. When they respect you, they trust you. So dividing up the relationship piece from the trust piece is very important to understand both columns. So you're not crossing over thinking, oh yeah, everyone likes me. I'm relationship oriented. I'm very big relationships. Oh yeah. And then turns out long term, people aren't going to stick with you or join you because they liked you, but there was no real trust there.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I get it. Thank you so much. So I feel like there's so much wisdom in everything that you're sharing now, and you're even giving your book away that you mentioned. What is that book, and how do people grab a copy then?
Sure. So my latest book is called Trust in a Split Second, and you can pick it up at thetrustbook.com. Pretty easy. And it's a physical book. We ship it to you in the mail, and obviously there's a chance to have a chat with us as well. There's a checkout page that has a calendar on there. You can grab some time with me and my team and have a chat about your situation. But I think the book encapsulates the essence of this and explains the difference between a sales culture and a trust culture and a process around that. So in your mind, you resonate or not resonate with that concept.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ari, for your generous time, sharing all the wisdom and the book as well. And yeah, thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much, Lynn. It's been a pleasure.